to the Lebombo border post, where traffic volumes continue to increase. And Newzroom Afrika's Nqobile Madlala is keeping an eye on developments there for us and joins us now live. I wonder how the weather as well, the inclement weather at your live position, Nqobile, is affecting the flow of traffic and movement.
Well, Iman, for those that are actually going through the walk-in border, it's been very difficult for them, obviously, because of the rain. So people have been just sort of waiting on the informal part of the areas just to try and ensure that they're not getting wet. But now it has cleared just slightly. But we know that the trucks haven't been in any way affected by the weather at this point. They're just continuing as per normal. However, the disruptions that had occurred in Lebombo Bridge have far-reaching issues that comes with time. And that's why I have NLCC to speak to us about those issues. And I think one of the problems that we had seen is that potentially the disruptions that occurred few weeks and few days ago could potentially end in unemployment.
Thank you. Yeah. So if you look at the past few weeks, we have lost 9.25 days. That's significant. Now, if you look at it in terms of trade impact, you are looking at about 420 million. In terms of truck standing time, you're looking at about just under 60. In terms of the port delay in Maputo, we lost about 120 days, but nothing was stopped. That cost wasn't that significant, but it was like in the mid-20s to 30. We also had the facilities of CTM and TLG that were banned. You are looking at about another 30 million. We also had one truck that was banned. A new truck will cost you 3.4 million. Now, those are costs that look insignificant, but supply chain doesn't love disruptions. So the minute you disrupt the way we have disrupted, to rebuild and get back to strength, it takes you a long time. And if the disruption is significant, it can even be years. So that's the challenge that we are facing. We are glad that things are moving a little bit now, but going forward, we need to make sure that we safeguard the supply chain so that we don't add more. I mean, if you look at the side activities around supply chain, you've got informal traders everywhere. When there are no activities, they are also not in business. And the majority of them, if you walk around, are women. And you can tell that they're here because maybe they are the breadwinners in their households. And when they get nothing, they go back and there's nothing to give to the kids. And if you look at the numbers, this is significant numbers. And you go to the neighbouring towns, you've got Komati Port, Malalane, all the way to Nelspruit. They feed off a lot with the traffic that goes to Maputo and back from Maputo. And when the traffic is disrupted, you start to have the B&Bs not working properly, the restaurants not having capacities that they want. And as a result, you start to lay off people and call them as and when there are opportunities. Now, we are already in December, Christmas is next week. You can imagine what will happen. You've got people who might probably have a bleak Christmas just because of what happened. We do appreciate that Mozambique is a sovereign country and they have processes that they have to follow. But in the end, I think as business people who are working with government in South Africa, our plea is that it's important that government continue to communicate with their counterparts so that there is a solution. Everybody is looking at 23rd, which is where Mozambique constitution will pronounce, and then we'll take it from there.
And I want to touch on that because the 23rd becomes a significant date for what happens to the trade between the two countries. What is sort of the business plan at the moment? Because we know in the past they'd even redirected and rerouted their trucks.
Yes. So in terms of Plan B, which we activated even post this, is that we wanted to use Mananga and other borders. But unfortunately, the other side of Mozambique have been very smart. And then they made sure that they are present in all the ports of entries and borders. So it didn't really work. Even the Mananga one didn't work, but we tried. But what we also did is we've been giving or issuing out alerts to business, especially the mines and transporters and people who use rail, on what's currently going on a daily basis. So in those alerts, we will talk about something like it's important that you familiarize yourself with what's happening in Mozambique, so that when you push your cargo to Mozambique, you have at least appraised yourself of what's going on, and you shouldn't be getting a call and you are surprised that, hey, this is happening. So it's up to individual companies to appraise themselves, which is very important. We will give them as much information as we could, but we cannot tell them to go or not to go. But one of the things that we want to do probably as quickly as we could as plan B is to start to use kilometer 7 and see if we can use it as a holding area. So if there is an issue post 23rd and trucks are already on the road, we can maybe take them and put them at the kilometer 7 and hold them there until we have got a bit of clarity of what we can do going forward.
Lazarus, is it possible perhaps to then redirect the traffic and take it towards Richards Bay instead of going through here? Take me through what are the concerns there and the prices that this could affect that movement.
So it's a good point. You must also appreciate that all the ports have got their own issues. If you look at Richards Bay, at some point the queues in Richards Bay were enormous. If you look at Durban, it was chaotic. So adding more to the problem that they're trying to solve to pull what they have can be a bit of a challenge. However, we always say people have got choices. Now, if people decide to use those ports, there's nothing wrong. They can use them, but they must also appraise themselves that they are already congested and they will be adding more. But once you have got good information, you can maybe pick days that will allow you to squeeze in without having to queue for days to come. But that's the challenge, that all the ports are being looked at to pull up efficiencies, and at the same time, like if you look at Bedbridge, the Zim side increased the taxes, and people ran away because it was becoming too expensive. And all of a sudden we could see in, I think it's Middles Drift, we could see a spike there of traffic because now they are looking at the cheapest route to export their stuff. So that movement will always be there. The question is, will it add to the problems that we currently have? And that's what the operators need to continuously check.
And I suppose that makes you appreciate then these conversations that are speaking to two countries and how they can help each other. And I know you don't speak on security, but I just want to know, does it then help the truckers to know that there could be more deployment of security and that the two countries are pulling all their resources together?
Definitely. You're right. We don't speak on security, but I can tell you this. One, not so long ago we were here and BMA was demonstrating the drones technology that they are deploying. So they are able to monitor this border using drones, which is very good. And they have got people stationed, soldiers and police and BMA, strategically where if there is an issue, they can react within like 3-4 minutes and they will be there. So it's important because those drones will also follow the line of the truck queues, which then give you that sense of security, especially to the drivers. But I think what is important is that as the industry, and when I say industry, I'm talking trucking industry, they need to come to the party because it's important that when we have got these massive problems, they find a way to deal with the humane side of drivers. When you are in a queue without ablution, it's not a good thing. This area can be very hot. It can go closer to 50. You need water. You need food. You can't just jump out of your truck and go and buy food and come. So I know some of the industry association have been discussing that they need to come and provide these facilities. But I think it's extremely urgent that it happens. Yes, we are going to have a tempering of traffic where it will slow down. But if it comes back again, we need those facilities, industries to provide and make sure that the drivers are looked after.
Well, let's hope that you will find those solutions quite quickly, obviously, for all those truckers that kind of need it. Thank you very much. That is Lazarus Bereda. He's speaking to us from the NLC. He's the co-chair there, Iman. And I think what he's outlining is just the importance of this economy where we see the biggest land port being affected by what is happening on the other side, which has got to do with politics. But of course, the hope is that by the 23rd, everything will subside and everything can go back to normal. And they don't have to deal with any disruptions because so much already has been lost.
All right, Nqobile Madlala, thank you very much for that important update.